Hello. Our topic today is Omnis as a powerful application server for mobile devices like iPhones, Android-based phones like Google Phone, iPads, and so on. My name is Raymond Tress, and I'm sure a lot of you will know me already. I'm in the market since 30 years now, and most of the time I did a lot of Omnis projects. All of this project had something to do with web and rich internet applications, with database design, object relational mapping on different platforms like Omnis or the Adobe known platform, which is known as FlexAir and others. This is a short portfolio of what kind of projects I've done, and I will just mention the recent project which was done for a company, American standard company named WAPCO. The goal was to optimize the quality assurance process during production on production lines where a lot of data have been grabbed during the productions, which causes a transaction volume of 500,000 transactions per hour. And they have to be stored within several databases and clusters in less than a second each transaction. That means it was not to be done with a normal instrument, so therefore I developed an Omnis, an object relational modular framework in Omnis, for Omnis, with Omnis. And the backend server was an Omnis application server, the front end was Omnis web client, or alternatively Flex web client, so to speak, the Flash player as a web client. You will be able to read all of this at my website, which is www.raymondtress.com. And now let's have a look at the agenda today. The first part will be give you an overview about the mobile market today. Second part is praxis. I show you how to set up an iPad or iPhone application with the Omnis. And third part is a theoretical introduction in service-oriented architecture. Don't worry, I will make it as short as possible. And we close this session with an Omnis iPhone Part 2, where an Omnis iPhone application will use service-oriented architecture as one of the technologies. So, mobile devices. Mobile devices today are more than just smartphones. Mobile devices might be integrated into cars, car radios, or image viewers. Or here we see for an example that Ford, for instance, is using a lot of work solutions for engineers which are inbuilt on, in this case, Android-based systems, where an Android system is running in your car radio, which is no more radio at all, it's a computer. So the world of mobile devices is much more colorful than just smartphones. Even you might even think in TVs, if you might have heard of the Google TV projects, which brings the network and applications to the newest generations of televisions, which do have already an inbuilt Android system and will run applications. The world of rich internet applications is a world of some players and systems, and one of the most important player, because they are doing that since a while, is Adobe, with all this Adobe Flex and Flash player based stuff in the world of rich internet applications. And that is a world where we do have our Omnis web client as we know it until today. But what about the mobile real world? The mobile real world is mostly JavaScript, are mostly JavaScript-based frameworks. Some of them are Flash, some not, because as you know that Mr. Apple refuses to allow Flash on his devices. And there's Silverlight Mobile, and there is, and that is very important, there is since this week the Omnis web client for mobile devices. It's coming up with the Omnis version 5.1, which, by the way, has another logo, which I like it. I really like this new logo. It's very straight, it's very sophisticated, and this logo, this version 5.1 of Omnis brings the Omnis web client for the iOS, the operating system for the Apple world. The global world, the global market in rich internet application runtimes is divided in two parts. The first one is the more or less open web runtime part, which is named with products like Firefox and Safari, WebKit, Chrome, and so on, and the world of the proprietary runtimes like Flash Player or Silverlight or JavaFX, and that is the world where where our Omnis is located until now. The mobile operating system scenario. I've watched a little bit the market, and I figured, or I just triggered the scenarios for the Apple iOS, Google Android, BlackBerry, Samsung, and Palm Webs, but not Symbian and not Windows Phone 7, because it's not that relevant in this context until now, and maybe not in the future anyway. But we might change. The situation might change. In the German market, the iOS smartphone share within the middle of the year, of this year, July 2010, was around about 21%. That is actually not that much. That doesn't mean that nearly a quarter of all smartphones, only a quarter of all smartphones using the iOS means iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch. But it's more interesting to see that 60% of just these iOS-bound devices are sharing the internet, so accessing the internet. That means because of the nature of these devices, of the brilliant graphical user interface and ergonomic interface, it is most used to access the internet in comparison to other devices which are not that, maybe convenient. And that brings it up to have a closer look at what is this Apple iOS. Apple iOS is an Apple operating system for the iPhone, the iPad, the iPod Touch, and the Apple TV. It's based on Darwin, which is actually a Unix derivative. It's using the Safari browser, which is based on the WebKit. It's an open source project initiated a while ago by Apple. The iOS itself is programmed in C, C++, and Objective-C, so see all about it. The interactive development environment for the Apple iOS is the Xcode system from Apple. And applications which are written for the iOS will be distributed via the Apple App Store. So if people on the streets or normal people are talking about, do you have this app or this app, they usually mean an iPod application, an iPhone or iPad application coming from the App Store, because Apple have been the first one who introduced this kind of store system. The store system is characteristic. It's quite easy in the case of Apple. We as developer are offering our application to Apple. Apple will check if this application fulfills their rules to be provided in the store, and then they put it in the store and are operating all this sales mechanism within iTunes and merchandising and marketing for us, but we have to give them a royalty fee of 30%. Okay. The other relevant system on the market is Android. Android is named Android because it was built by a company, developed by a company which was named Android. And this company has been taken over by Google in 2005. Later on in 2008, Google released this system as an open source system, and therefore it is spread now on a lot of smartphone devices all over the world, not only by Google, but Samsung, for instance, is using it, or a lot of other HTC and HTC, no HTC, and other vendors, manufacturers of smartphone devices are using this Android. The integrated browser is Chrome, and it's driven by an V8 JavaScript engine inside WebKit, and the system itself is programmed not only in C and C++, but mostly in Java. And that's a big difference to the Apple system, that the Java is dominating more or less the characteristic of the operating system. So therefore, the SDK and the IDE and Java are, of course, Eclipse as the most spreaded IDE on our relevant operating systems. There are, of course, stores like the App Store, stores from Google, from Amazon, Vodafone, and might be some others I don't know, and I haven't checked until now. But these stores are growing more and more, and the relevance of Android-driven applications is increasing more or less daily. Developing applications for smartphones and for Apple phones in general makes it necessary to, if I don't want to program really natively in the Omnis, in the Apple C and C++ Xcode framework, I might use native frameworks from the market, and there are two of them I will mention here, that is PhoneGap and Accelerator. These ones are the well known on the market, on the Apple iOS market now. The principle of this framework, these kind of frameworks is always the same. They're wrapping HTML5, CSS, JavaScript things together to an application which will then be pre-compiled or compiled more or less for the target operating system like iOS or Android or whatever. But anyway, if it comes to business logic inside this application, you have to program this business logic within JavaScript. There was a guy outside, I don't know the name, he said, if something is programmable on this word, it is programmable with JavaScript. That's surely true, but a few years ago, JavaScript wasn't that stable and that reliable as it is now. But anyway, you need to have to program. If you, for instance, want to get the location of the mobile device running on the mobile device, then you have to write this 4 or 6 lines of code to do that. And you have to learn JavaScript, of course. You, as Omnis programmers, don't have to do that, because within Omnis, this thing is just one checkbox within the property to enable the device to get to know its location or not. So let's have a first look in praxis, and we will make a short break in front, and then we have the first setup iPhone application part 1.